Hey, what's going on, everybody? Back to the Sports Scoop. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, Suraj Kadali. I'm Cian McDermott. Welcome to the Sports Scoop. Today, we are continuing our top 5 positional series with a very, very interesting one, running backs, top 5 running backs in the NFL draft. Do make sure to subscribe to the channel as well. Podcast every Wednesday. Go make sure to check out our one with Boom or Bust, the draft show. We discuss everything NFL draft, give you a preview. Go check that out as well. Follow us on social media at The Sports Scoop, Twitter, Instagram, and join our Flick chat. You can find us over there at The Sports Scoop. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
So now getting into the video, let's go to number 5. At number 5, we have running back Michael Carter from North Carolina. Cian, what do you like about Michael Carter and why is he at number 5?
And this is a tough one, definitely, because Michael Carter, I guess for us, we had him in, we had him out. He is part of the best, tandem in college, really. A great running back duo they had there. And there's a lot to like about Michael Carter there as well. A lot to not like, and not a lot, but there are things to not like due to that he is number 5. And really someone who I think is under the radar since we've really seen this draft start. While people have said he's been in Javonte's shadow, he actually has been productive on the rushing side of things. Had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in his junior and senior season, and this year really saw a breakout. Him and Javonte both did. Some you'll see will group both of them because they were both on UNC, and saw really good receiving production from someone. He's 5'7", about 201 was what he weighed in on his pro day, and had 450 yards combined in those last 2 years at UNC. And then if you guys watch college football, you saw his amazing game he had against Miami, rushing for over 300 yards. But there are just a couple of questions that I think do go into it. He had a great short shuttle drill, a very, very good 3-cone drill on the UNC Pro Day. Really showed what people have seen on tape and really proved how good they are. And I think he's going to be as I said, immediate impact player. It's just, for me, the question is, as I said, 5'7", measured online. If you look at 199, I believe he has 200. So a number 1 running back. Injuries definitely are a concern. And then I do wonder, does he get pushed down to the RB2, receiving back due to his size? So that is concerning for me. And for someone who's 5'7", he's not the fastest dude considering his size, running a 4.5 440, which is still very fast. But you look at some of the higher guys who have run, sub 4.5, sub 4.4. So I do think speed is a question, but I think he's someone who can gash defenses and really get downfield fast. So I do like Michael Carter a lot, but I see him kind of as that Robin to Javonte Williams, as he kind of seemed to be the main guy over on UNC. So I'm wondering, when he steps into that RB1 role, can he produce and can he get touchdowns? And we haven't seen a lot of production in terms of scoring, at least in his junior season. So I'm wondering, can he do that at the next level?
Yeah, I feel like with Michael Carter, I think he does. You do see a lot of potential. I think, again, like you said, he isn't the biggest guy, only 5'7", and his speed isn't great. But I feel like even though he, again, as people said, it wasn't Javonte Williams' shadow, he had a couple of very good games in terms of running games. Like you said the Miami game, he had a great game. He also has very good receiving production, which is very impressive. And I feel like he can be that kind of running back who, again, I feel like maybe he could take on a similar role in the NFL. Maybe he doesn't have to be that running back who's number 1. Maybe he can be that, like as you see now in the NFL more recently, there are more running back by committees. I feel like he could be that solid fringe number 1 running back, number 2 running back. So I feel like he'd be a great fit there, and he'll be, in my opinion, a very solid weapon for whoever gets him.
All right, let's move on to number 4. Someone who I actually think is ranked pretty high, at least for us and maybe for other people's liking, but I completely agree with it. I know Suraj as well. We have Trey Sermon out of Ohio State. Obviously had that chest injury, I believe, in the playoffs for Ohio State. But Suraj, what is there to love with Trey Sermon, and why is he ranked slightly higher than most people have him?
Yeah, I know. I feel like obviously this is a bit of a hot take considering Trey Sermon doesn't really have that much impressive stats. Even really only had a great end of season, had 870 yards, 4 touchdowns, 7.5 yards per carry, which is very impressive. But I think obviously the reason why he's shot up draft boards, including ours, is because of the fact that really he showed so much, not only just like great college running skills and being behind one of the better offensive lines in the country, but at the same time, like, he showed traits that are really NFL level, and I feel like he could be a great fit there. We saw, again, he ran behind a really good Ohio State offensive line with future NFL level talents like Wyatt Davis. was again quiet for the most of the year, but I feel like he really improved his stock with back-to-back games where he had over 11 yards per carry. And I don't care what offensive line you're running behind, you have to be doing at least some of the work to be doing that. Did that against Michigan State and Northwestern, was one of the reasons why they won that Big Ten championship game after a struggle from Justin Fields, and continued that in the Sugar Bowl against Clemson with an 193-yard performance. So as you can see, he absolutely had an amazing end of the season, really showed up in the clutch. What I really like about him is he provides really great vision. He has a decent burst. He can accelerate decently fast. I think he would be great in a good rushing offense that uses a zone blocking scheme similar to what Ohio State used, again, with those future NFL level talents. As you saw that oftentimes, even though we obviously do say that Sherman does have great vision, one of the reasons why he was able to use that vision was because of the blocking holes that were available thanks to the zone blocking scheme. And then I think he also has very good physicality and ball security. And I think, again, I'm not saying he's going to be a solid number one running back right out of the gate, or maybe even at all, but I still feel like he has very good potential in that area. Isn't particularly fast in general, ran a 4.5740, and isn't a great third down running back, so I feel like he'd be a better early down running back. Pair him with maybe a solid third down running back like, I don't know, Malcolm Brown, and I think he'd be a very solid investment.
Yeah, Trey Sermon, and we see with, arguably all these running backs, they're not really first-round talents. And Trey Sermon is an exception to that, which is okay, but he kind of came to the scene, as you saw, mainly in that Sugar Bowl game against Clemson, where he was phenomenal, running for so many yards as well. Justin Fields was the main highlight of that game, but if you really look at that film, Trey Sermon was a massive, massive reason why they were able to get downfield and score against the Clemson offense that has one of the best quarterbacks you've ever seen. And another great running back in Etienne, who we'll talk about later. And I think for Trey Sermon, I just think the problem why, and even I know we ranked him high, but I feel like having him ranked below 5 is probably more fair than 4. I guess me and Suraj just like him a lot. I would probably give a 3rd, 4th round ranking on him. And in terms of comparisons, it's actually hard, but I think I do see, and I know this is really out of the way, but I do see a little bit of Saquon in him, just his ability to get outside the tackles and have that burst of speed and break tackles, which really impresses me. Obviously, I'm a Giants fan, so anything that resembles Saquon, I love immediately. And, he possesses the size. He has 6'1", at least pre-pro day. I'm not sure what he was measured at his pro day, and 215 pounds. So he has that all down back, big back, which we haven't seen from Carter, as we talked about earlier. But I think Sermon was great and was a big reason why that Ohio State team made that run in the playoffs that not a lot of teams were, or not a lot of people were really expecting.
Now moving on to the number 3 running back, we have Javonte Williams, again from North Carolina. Cian, what do you like about Javonte Williams?
Now, these top 3, I feel like it's really, really close. Like, Javonte Williams, if someone were to put him at 1, if someone were to put him at 2, which I actually really have him at 2, I'm like, all right, that makes sense. Because you look at Javonte Williams, you see someone who really has very little holes, unless you're a nitpicky type person. Incredibly good downhill runner. He's just an absolute tank. And what we have kind of at the end of our little document here, where we're, talking about the picks, we have his comparisons to Marshawn Lynch and Derrick Henry. He's just a built tank who cannot get tackled. He touched the ball so many times and broke so many tackles that it just was so impressive. Someone who, as well, and I know that this is why his stock is probably a bit lower than the top 2 guys, who you probably know who they are, because he jumped onto the scene like Trey Sermon and, basically Michael Carter this year, and kind of was a shock to everyone. But he was just incredible, kind of the head of that running back locker room. In him and Michael Carter was kind of that lead guy who's just a massive tank. And, I just think he's great. I think he's very good on the perimeter. He's very good with the stiff arm. I think he's agile enough and can get outside the tackles and really is good. And I think for his size is very, very good in the red zone, and dare I say surprisingly. But I really, really do like Javonte Williams. And if you put him at 1, if he becomes the best running back in this class, I will not be surprised at all.
Yeah, I also really like Javonte Williams. Again, like you said, very strong physical running back. I think the Marshawn Lynch is a very good comparison. As decent, a sneaky elusiveness, although I think one of the few concerns about him is you could say he doesn't really have a great burst from outside the line, does sometimes struggle with the vision a few of the time. I think he's still a very, very solid running back. Another comparison that I have coming out of, he also came out of he was drafted last season. It kind of reminds me a bit of A.J. Dillon on the Packers. Maybe that
Right.
type of guy who has like absolutely I saw like someone said like pistols for legs. Like his legs are absolutely ginormous. Has again, very strong, hard to take down, great at running in between the tackles as well. Good downhill runner. Has improved on catching outside the backfield. So I really like this guy. I agree he could be a number 1 running back easily, but I think if he's drafted into a situation similar to what the Packers did with Dillon, I think he could maybe have a solid first year, maybe can emerge on the scene late in like he kind of strikes me as that November type or December type of running back who's like when it gets colder and harder to throw the ball, you rely on him to like take you place. And I feel like don't be surprised if you see especially towards the latter part of the year, he becomes more and more involved. So I really like Javonte.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think there's a very big chance where he sits for a little and then goes in. I mean, who knows? Maybe that whatever crew he goes to, I think a really good fit maybe would be Miami. I know he's not getting the cold weather you would like him to, Suraj, but say they go and play in Green Bay or go play at, at New England. Again, not a first round guy. I mean, maybe a first. I very highly doubt. I would give him a mid. I think this guy's rising up draft boards as we speak. All right, let's move on to number 2. And again, 1 and 2 are interchangeable as well as 3, where we have Suraj's guy, Najee Harris. Why does he show that? And what is there really to like about Najee Harris?
So yeah, I actually had Najee Harris as my number 1 running back, but because me and Cian had to make this list together, I had to concede him as my number 2 running back. He had a stellar season this season for Alabama, 1,466 yards, 26 touchdowns, 5.8 yards per carry. Also had 43 receptions for 425 yards and 4 receiving touchdowns. So when you look at Najee Harris and his build, it's pretty obvious. I think he has a very strong downhill runner. The comparison is a slightly less strong Derrick Henry, but unlike Henry, he can also be a very good receiver out of the backfield to maybe not only be a bruiser, but also fit the modern running back. I think he has decent speed also for his build, running a 4.45 40, very decent, especially in open space. Very elusive time, as you saw like during that when he had that hurdle that Notre Dame player. He's very elusive as well especially for his build. Known to be a great teammate as well. I think like I don't know if everyone's heard the story, but I think he drew like something like 17 hours to like the Alabama Pro Day just to like support his teammate. Very well liked in the locker room. Can operate in really any rushing scheme. He's great inside the tackles and on the perimeter. Good instincts and vision. Did run up behind a stellar Alabama offensive line, which did make up for his lack of maybe quick burst. He doesn't have the best burst in my opinion. Maybe more gets going once he gets into the open field. In my opinion, he'll be great as a 3-down running back, but teams could maybe use with a second elusive or maybe scat back, just to like maybe a smaller one just to maybe complement him well. But I really like Najee Harris.
Yeah, I mean, Suraj really said it all about Najee Harris. I just think he's just a massive playmaker who can really and someone who to tackle. Again, dare I say Derrick Henry. We saw what he did at Alabama, and I think Najee Harris really is his prototype. I really like his build. I think he has huge legs. And I think something that's funny is just not a lot of these running backs are incredibly fast. I mean, you're not really seeing any running backs run sub 4.4, which is a bit scary, but Najee Harris, I feel like for his size, I don't think speed is as much of a need, and it's still 4.4. What is 4.45? It's still very fast.
4.45.
That's not like he's running slow. He still has ability to get past defenders. I think Najee Harris will be an incredible back.
Going on to our number 1, I think you can guess it by here. We have
Kenneth Gainwell.
Now we go on to our number 1, Travis Etienne from Clemson. So Cian, why do you have Etienne as your number 1?
And again, I think Etienne's great, don't get me wrong, but I really do think these running backs, they're very interchangeable. Etienne just really, I just like what he brings and really is the most versatile running back in this class. Doesn't matter the scheme, doesn't matter the offensive line scheme, what kind of blocking scheme, zone. I mean, Travis Etienne just to me is I wouldn't say a Swiss Army knife, but is just really versatile. You see someone who can receive the ball very well and as well as just an all-down back like a Najee Harris. And I think what separates him is Najee Harris is kind of a, obviously really good 3-down back, but not as good of a receiving back like Derrick Henry. I mean, if you're Derrick Henry, it's not going to matter if you're a good receiving back. But Travis Etienne has absurd production. Basically has been producing since he was recruited, but excluding his freshman year. 3 years. In 2018 he brought in 1,658 yards and 24 touchdowns. That's as a sophomore, which is absurd. And in 2019 fell a little bit, but still the numbers are crazy with 1,614 and 19 touchdowns. And 2020 was a slow year, and I think what a reason why a lot of people do have Etienne as 2 or 3 is because those lack of performances kind of in those late games. Like, we really didn't see him against Ohio State, obviously because we didn't see him in the championship because they didn't go. But in his senior year, he had 914 yards and 14 touchdowns. And as I said, I love his versatility. I think he can just really do it all. 1,020 receiving yards in his last 2 years at Clemson, which I think is really good, because you look at his sophomore season when he had his breakout year and he only had 78 reception yards. So that jump in college is just amazing, because you would rather have that jump in college and then be an established receiving and 3-down back before they get into the league. And I think out of all these running backs, what I love so much is that his game will reflect to the NFL the best. His game he can go into the NFL and be immediately a game breaker who can be an RB1. And I mean, Surge, if the Jets can get him in the second round, maybe their late second round pick, I think getting a running back like not Najee Harris, like Travis Etienne, just would make all the world.
Yeah, I think we even saw Etienne make comments that he said that he thinks his game would fit well with teams like the Jets. And I think I even though I have Najee Harris as my number 1, I actually really like Etienne. It would be a number 1 running back for me in most years. Again, like, when you look at him, I think he's really has a great combination of being that 3-down running back and like be a great power running back with his decent size. But at the same time, also a very good pass catcher out of the backfield. When you saw players like Trevor Lawrence or T. Higgins or Justin Ross or the other Clemson wide receivers or offensive line get the credit, Etienne was probably one of the most not clutch players, but one of the most integral players on that Clemson team, in my opinion. Like, he really Etienne gave Trevor Lawrence that kind of security blanket, that safety net when he was struggling, because he knew he could rely on Etienne being there for him in those clutch situations. So I love Etienne. I know he will be a very solid running back wherever he goes, because I think, again, like Ian said, very versatile, can be used in many different area situations. I think his game will translate well to the NFL level.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at some comparisons, I mean, what stands out and jumps out is Alvin Kamara, someone who's incredible receiving and incredible rushing. And I think if he can make another jump in receiving wise and be like a consistent 500, 600-yard receiver like the top running backs like McCaffrey and Kamara, watch Travis Etienne be a top 5 running back in the next 2 years. I think he will be very, very good. That will end it for the video. I hope you guys did enjoy. Do make sure to subscribe to the channel. Podcast every Wednesday. Comment any questions or concerns or just comments down below about anything for our mailbag, or you can DM us on Instagram any of your questions, or you can that on our website as well. Do make sure to follow our social media at The Sports Scoop, Flick Chat, Instagram, and our Twitter to stay up to date with us when we are not posting videos. We will continue to get these top 5 positional out. We're going to try as hard as we can. So do make sure that you stay tuned.